Picture it. It's the early 1600s, and two mysterious pamphlets suddenly appear, spreading like wildfire all across Europe. They tell an incredible story of a secret brotherhood of wise men, guys who held ancient secrets and promised a complete, total, universal reformation of, well, everything. Science, art, religion, the whole shebang. This is the story of their incredible invitation to the world, and the huge mystery they left in their wake. So let's open that door and see what's inside.
You know, our story doesn't really start with those pamphlets. It starts right here, with this cryptic Latin phrase found on a hidden door. It's a promise, almost a prophecy, and it's the key to a discovery that was supposed to change the world. After 120 years, I will open. Okay, I'm hooked. What exactly was behind that door?
And the crazy thing is, the whole thing supposedly happened by accident. So the story goes that a member of this secret fraternity, a guy we only know as Brother NN, was doing some renovations. He's working on one of their buildings, decides to move this big brass memorial table, and when he does, he finds this big sturdy nail sticking out of the wall behind it.
So he does what anyone would do, right? He yanks the nail out. But when he does, a huge chunk of plaster comes with it, and suddenly, there it is, a hidden door, something no one knew was there. And right there on the door, in big letters, is that prophecy. Post 120 annos patebo. The 120 years had passed. It was time.
The next morning, they pry the door open, and what they find inside is just mind-blowing. It's this perfect seven-sided room, a vault. No windows, but it's lit up bright as day by some kind of artificial sun in the ceiling. In the middle of the room, a round altar, surrounded by chests filled with books, weird mirrors, and lamps that were, get this, somehow still burning after more than 100 years.
But here's the real kicker. What was under that altar? They lift this heavy brass plate, and there he is, the body of their founder. And this is the part that sounds impossible. After 120 years, his body was perfectly preserved, completely untouched by time, like he'd just been laid to rest. And he was holding this mysterious book in his hand.
And that book described him as a man who had been initiated into the deepest secrets of both heaven and earth. I mean, this was obviously no ordinary person. This was their most godly and highly illuminated father, the guy who started it all.
Which, of course, leads to the big question. Who was this guy? The manifestos just call him Brother C.R., but we've come to know him as Christian Rosicrucian. And to really get what this society was all about, we have to understand his incredible journey.
All right, so Brother C.R. He was a German nobleman from a poor family. At just 5 years old, he gets sent to a cloister, learns his Greek and Latin, but his real education, that was about to start.
His world tour begins when he's 16. He's supposed to be going to the Holy Land, but ends up in Damascus. And there, he meets these wise men who, and this is wild, already know his name and tell him they've been expecting him. He spends years with them, learning physics, math, and translating the secret text they call the Book M. Then his quest takes him to Egypt, and then to Fez in Morocco, where he learns from what he calls elementary inhabitants. Now, all this travel gave him one single gigantic purpose. He came to believe that all the knowledge in Europe was, in his words, spotted and imperfect. So his mission became nothing less than a general reformation, to fix all of arts and sciences, to restore them to the state of divine perfection, based on a harmony that connected God, humanity, and nature. No small goal, right? So armed with all this world-changing knowledge, Brother C.R. makes his way to Spain. He's excited, ready to share everything with the top scholars in Europe. He's expecting them to be thrilled. Yeah, that is not what happened.
The difference in reception was just night and day. Back in the East, the sages welcomed him like he was an old friend they'd been waiting for, and they freely shared all their wisdom. The scholars of Europe, they literally laughed at him. They were way more worried about their own reputations than about discovering the truth. Admitting he was right would mean admitting they'd been wrong for years.
So completely rejected by the establishment, C.R. heads back to Germany. He realizes that if this reformation is ever going to happen, he's going to have to start it himself. So he builds a house, calls it the House of the Holy Spirit, and starts to plan his next move. He knew he couldn't do it alone. So he decided to form a small, very secret group to protect and build on all the wisdom he'd gathered. And this was the moment the Fraternity of the Rosy Cross was born. And he started small. I mean, really small. He got 3 other brothers from his old cloister to join him. That's it.
A team of 4. Together they create this secret magical language and write down everything they know. Later they bring in 4 more, for a grand total of 8 members, all of them bachelors sworn to absolute secrecy. They all agreed to live by 6 simple but very profound rules. Their only job in public was to heal the sick, and they had to do it for free. No fancy robes, they were to blend in with the locals wherever they went. They met up once a year, and each one had to find a worthy successor before they died. Their symbol was RC, and maybe most importantly, they agreed the whole operation would stay completely secret for 100 years.
So a century passes. The first generation of brothers is long gone, and then the discovery of the founder's tomb happens. That was the final sign. The 100 years of silence were over. It was finally time to announce their existence to the world and send out an invitation.
And boy, did they send it out. That first manifesto, the Fama Fraternitatis, was published all across Europe in 5 different languages. This wasn't some local newsletter. This was a call going out to every scholar, philosopher, and ruler on the continent.
Now, the offer was clear, but it came with a huge catch. To anyone who was a true seeker, they promised to share everything, benefiting them in goods, body, and soul. But, and this is a big but, they gave a very stark warning to anyone who was greedy or just in it for themselves. Trying to find them wouldn't lead to riches, it would lead to utter ruin.
So what were these guys all about? Well, they laid it out pretty clearly. They were Christians, but they were not fans of the Pope. They said making gold was basically a sideshow. The real goal was true philosophy and understanding the universe. For them, the Bible was the ultimate guide to everything. And that grand mission, that universal reformation, was their whole reason for being.
This quote right here really gets to the heart of their message. They say it over and over. We're not alchemists looking for money. We're not trying to sell you fake potions. They claimed to already have all the wealth, spiritual and material, they could ever need. Their only goal was to share it, for free, with people who were actually worthy.
I mean, this was the offer of a lifetime, right? A chance to join a secret society of enlightened masters who held the keys to the universe. So, did it work? Did Europe's best and brightest sign up? Did the Great Reformation finally begin?
Well, the public response was an absolute explosion. They called it the Rosicrucian Furor. Hundreds, maybe thousands of books and pamphlets and letters were published. People were claiming to be members, attacking them, or desperately begging to join. But from the fraternity themselves, nothing. Absolute radio silence. They never made another public peep. And that leaves us right here, with this fantastic unresolved mystery. Was this whole thing just an elaborate allegory, a brilliant piece of fiction meant to inspire a new way of thinking? Or was the Fraternity of the Rosicrucian a very real order that, after seeing the greedy and chaotic response from the world, just decided, nope, and quietly slipped back into the shadows, where they might still be hidden to this very day? It's a question we may never have the answer to.